Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast powered by ComEd. It's getting easier for your business to switch to electric vehicles. Learn more at ComEd.com/clean. Happy Wednesday. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. We are still basking in the glow of last night's 3-2 win over the Colorado Avalanche. We're going to spend a good portion of the show now with a few hours to kind of marinate on it. What that game meant for the Hawks and probably more specifically what it meant for Lukas Reichel. We're also going to talk to our buddy Pete Blackburn of the What Chaos podcast. He's going to join us momentarily here. So before we get started there, make sure that you smash that like button on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page as well. Podcast listeners, make sure you're following or subscribed wherever you get your podcast. And please take 5 to 10 seconds to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That would be greatly appreciated. It's funny, like there's a lot of around the league stuff to get to with Pete. It's like coaches are getting fired all the time. And you mentioned an interesting email you got today about coaching items.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it with Pete, but random ass email with the betting odds from an inferior betting site about the next head coach to be fired in the NHL. There's already been like five or six of them, it feels like. And 4, 5? I don't know.
4? You counting Babcock?
Yeah, you could count that.
5.
And Luke Richardson was on there as the 4th highest odds as the next coach to be fired. And I opened that up and I said, tell me you're not paying attention without telling me you're not paying attention.
Yeah, that's looking at records and only looking at
who's
records.
got the 4th worst records in the league? Well, they got to be the coach who's getting fired.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
No, not at all.
No, and it said 12.5% best odds at being fired or whatever. And I was just like, if you had any idea about the Blackhawks, it would be 0%.
Yeah. Can you bet on it not happening?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Bet $1 million
you can bet on
one.
teams. You can bet on teams to not make the playoffs. Like before the season, you could bet the Blackhawks to not make the play. The odds are horrible. It's not worth it. But you could do it. Yeah, you could. But you could do it. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes people just print things or say things with zero information.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, look at this information. It's just like,
my inbox is full of that crap.
Oh, yeah.
I've started marking some of those things as spam.
But it's always like, it's the weird thing, too. It's not just sports stuff. It's like, Illinois is ranked 9th for Wi-Fi capability. Like, who gives a shit?
Wow, that's fascinating.
Like, it's always like the weirdest stuff. Like, Chicago is the 4th ranked city in the world when it comes to paper straws or stupid, like, just complete nonsense.
If you want me to move out of Illinois,
Yeah, I hate paper straws.
paper straws.
Well, yeah, no.
Every ounce of my liberalness leaves my body when I see a paper straw.
Yeah, I hate paper straws. They're the worst.
I'm just like, F the turtles. I cannot drink out of this damn straw.
No, I'm not a fan of the paper straw. No, like, I don't take your business seriously if you give me a paper straw. I will probably not
I get
come
mad.
back.
I turn into a Karen if that happens.
Unless you have the world's best French fries, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Like, if Kuma's Corner had paper straws, I would deal with it.
They would never.
It's not metal.
They wouldn't dare.
No, it's paper.
Thank you. Yeah.
I can see what he did there. Yeah. All right. Is Pete good to
Pete's
go?
here.
All right.
Hello, Pete.
Joining us now from the What Chaos podcast, Bruins podcast, is our buddy Pete Blackburn. What's up, man? How are you?
It's not a Bruins podcast, but I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
How was your enjoy watching you guys on social media, your trip to Columbus? How was that?
It was great. People sleep on Columbus as a hockey city. I think that it's a hockey city. That's my takeaway from that trip down there. It was fun. Like they had some good hockey bars. The crowd showed up, a lively crowd. They show out for that team, and I give them respect for it because there hasn't been a lot to cheer for, and I do think the Blue Jackets are like one of the most anonymous teams in the league, and for some reason that city still loves them.
It is weird considering what's going on there this year, where the whole Babcock thing. Everybody knew that was gonna blow up in their faces. We just didn't expect it to happen that quickly. Like, hey, first day, get out of here. But Pascal Vincent, man, he has made some very, very interesting decisions this season, and none of them seem to be paying off for them.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated, even as a neutral observer, with the way that team is being handled, with some of the ways that their young players are being deployed or not deployed over the course of games. And Yurchek, healthy scratch. Like what are we doing here? Like, this team is clearly not good. And I get that they're probably trying to play for some respect and play for wins on any given night. But the most important thing for the Columbus Blue Jackets is the development of their young players, putting them in situations where they can learn, where they can grow. And I feel like we've seen too many situations from Pascal Vincent where he's kind of strangling some of these young kids in terms of their ice time and in terms of their deployment, and not letting them go through those growing pains and giving them a little bit of leash. And that's frustrating to me.
Well, I mean, I don't know what Adam Fantilli is going to learn being a left winger on the fourth line. And I know that sometimes you can look at a young player and look at, their last 5 or 6 games and say, okay, this guy's clearly overwhelmed. Let's pull it back a little bit. Let's give him a night in the press box and just hit the reset button. But burying a guy in the fourth line isn't going to teach him anything aside from being frustrated as hell. And
my only explanation is that Pascal Vincent listened to our interview with Adam Fantilli, in which he said that he models his game after Sean Corrali, and he was like, "Okay, cool, fourth liner. There we go."
That could be.
He's going to regret saying that.
I would imagine so. But they can't fire him. You just had the Babcock thing. You can't come now and fire.
Well, I think he's a one-and-done lame duck guy.
Yeah, maybe.
There's no way Jarmo Kekalainen survives this offseason, is there? I mean,
I would say that there is a due change of cleaning of house over there. I would say, and Pascal Vincent, I know that he was kind of cast into the job at the last second, but it's one of those situations where I wondered at the time, like, why even give him the full label of head coach instead of like interim head coach? Why not like the Andrew Brunette situation in Florida, where let's ride out this year, see how it goes. This is kind of like a 1-year experimental thing, and then we'll reevaluate at the end of the year. I think this is a big time reevaluation at the end of the season. And from what I've seen, Pascal Vincent has not inspired a lot of confidence as the long-term head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I just feel that Jarmo's kind of reached his end of his run there. Like, I know he's one of the more respected GMs in the league, but like, let's face it, what has he really accomplished there? I mean, he kept the team together for that 2019, and they swept the Lightning in the first round, and that was a feel good moment there. But because you decided to do that, Panarin leaves for nothing, Barbosky leaves for nothing, Duchesne is gone. Like, those are all guys you could have moved for assets and maybe built, and they haven't recovered from that yet.
It's also their only playoff series win under Jarmo, so at least he can say that he's won a playoff series, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a bad thing.
Sure, I mean, in 9 years, I guess. If that's your standard, then he's meeting it.
Manage the White Sox.
Good. Yeah, I mean, talking about job security and coaching in the NHL, another one is out the door this week as Ottawa gets rid of DJ Smith. I mean, Greg, you and I were talking about it before the show. It's kind of like the Senators are getting into that position in their rebuild phase or whatever that they've been going through, where a lot of their core pieces are like hitting their prime, and here you are, you're now firing a coach, and you're sitting in a lottery spot once again. Where do you see the Senators going from here? now that they're moving on from DJ Smith, like, Daniel Alfredsson's behind the bench. Like, is this kind of like a situation that the Blackhawks were in where Dennis Savard was the coach, but Joel Quenneville was just kind of sitting in the back of the office waiting for his chance?
Yeah, I mean, I from what I've been told, the Senators situation is like the DJ Smith firing is the precursor to like a culture change within the Ottawa Senators. And the way that it was described to me, and I found this a funny way of phrasing, I was told DJ Smith ran a country club-esque atmosphere with the Ottawa Senators where it was very chill and like the players like him and he's well respected as a personality and as a human being. But there wasn't a lot of accountability or intensity within that team. And I think that you can see that with the way that the team plays. And there needs to be a culture change with sort of how much guys are bringing on any given day. And, maybe this is a minuscule thing to kind of overanalyze, but after firing DJ Smith, they held an optional skate yesterday morning and about 10 guys showed up. And I know it's an optional skate. I know it's probably not the most important thing in the world, but after you fire the coach and there's a brand new guy leading the team and there's clearly like a wake up call for the team. The fact that like 2/3 of the team does not show up to that skate it's kind of a tough look.
Yeah, I'd be a little alarmed there. And then they get out to a 3-0 lead last night and lose 4-3. So, new coach, same result. But I did see last night while sitting in the press box at the United Center that the Ottawa Senators have a player named Angus Crookshank. And he scored his first goal last night, and that is my new favorite player in the National Hockey League. He was also my favorite character in Braveheart.
Yeah, that is a Harry Potter ass name for Angus Crookshank. That is a wild name to have in 2023.
He was like Robb Stark's second in command on Game of Thrones or something like that.
To be,
the House of Crookshank.
Though I'll take Angus over like the new hockey names of like Ryder and Jackson with an X and a Y and a Z in there for some reason.
And Stauber lovers are coming for you.
That's the kind of name that the Ottawa Senators need in terms of like this guy is capable of anything. True. Like those, like the name like Riker doesn't instill a fear. That person's clearly Gen Z, TikTok generation. Angus Crookshank was legitimately teleported from like the days of witchcraft. And I think that's something that team needs. Is just a real element of unpredictability.
He showed up. I'm going to date myself with this reference, but he showed up at a Circle K out of a phone booth right off of a medieval battlefield and ran right to the Ottawa Senators.
Do we need to whiteboard that for the youngsters?
They can look it up. They can Google it.
The Bears had a guy named Aaron Crookshank on their team in training camp, but Angus.
That's a different level.
Is another level.
I mean, Angus Crookshank and Artem Zub. Those guys need to be like in a cop movie together. Like, how are you not marketing those guys?
You're telling me an Angus shanked this crook? You ever see those tweets? You're telling me a shrimp fried this rice?
Gotta have that cop. Gotta get him in the new Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in the Alfredson angle, and Jacques Martin. Easy for me to say. Ascends from on high, just like Joel Quenneville did back in the day. Are they grooming Alfredson for this job, do you think?
I think they want him to take as large of a role within that organization as he is willing to take. And he's really moved off of his stance that he didn't want to be involved in the day-to-day, because at the beginning of the season, when they brought him in to kind of be around the team, he was like, I don't want to travel on the road. I kind of just want to be comfortable and kind of like ease back into the mix. And clearly that's changed. And I think that they've really pulled him towards this team because they know that this team could probably benefit from him. And you even saw it last night. There was a play where I forget who it was on the ice, did not finish his check in the corner, kind of just did a little drive by, headed back to the bench instead of finishing a check. And Alfie was there waiting for him at the door and kind of laid into him. And like, that's the kind of stuff that the Ottawa Senators need. It's that accountability. And forcing guys to play and put 100% into every shift. And so, like, I think that they're probably looking at Alfie as a guy that they would love to be in the mix as much as possible. And I guess my big question is whether he would want to take on that much responsibility. But the fact that he's even there as an assistant now makes me believe maybe he's being pushed in that direction. So could be the next guy.
Another topic that we've kind of sort of followed, at least from the beginning. Did Patrick Kane break the Detroit Red Wings? Because they're 1-5-1 since he put on that jersey. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm kind of enjoying the hell out of that. I mean, he's been okay. A goal and 4 points in his 7 games, but I know everybody in goalie pads in Detroit all of a sudden is hurt now, but I mean, what's going on? You can't when you're playing in that division and in that conference, you can't afford to have one of these stretches in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's I think the Kane coinciding with this slide is a bit coincidental, just because he has looked better than I've expected for the most part. I think it's partially like just the general chaos going on with that team right now. You mentioned the goaltender thing. Good salute to nice paying tribute to the podcast name, but it is the general chaos of that team right now. Like, the goaltending thing is tough. The injuries have not helped. Larkin being out of the lineup, obviously, Comfer, and I think that team is still adjusting to playing with Patrick Kane, and DeBrincat's been really bad over the past couple of weeks. So it's just kind of I think they're trying to find their footing, and a lot of things are happening all at once that's preventing them from doing that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that about Kane, because back in my prior job, I had the opportunity to interview some Hawks, like at bar events and whatnot, and they all mentioned that you have to learn how to play with him. Like, it's definitely not a typical line mate for guys to have. We're seeing it a little bit too with Connor Bedard, where his line mates just can't imagine how a puck got to them, and all of a sudden it's right there on their tape and they don't know what to do with it. Kane's a little bit different, though, because of the way he's such a stationary player, if that makes sense. Like, he gets the puck, kind of takes a look, he shimmies a little bit, and then finds his spot. And I think for teammates, that's a pretty big adjustment to get used to if you've never done it. And of course, like, you saw DeBrincat score a pair of goals the other night. One was a vintage cross-ice one-timer from Patrick Kane, so they're starting to find that again. But for the rest of that team, it is an adjustment to play with him.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, that was always my argument when everybody would talk about Connor McDavid and be like, you could put Joe Schmo next to Connor McDavid and he'll get 50, 60 points. And I just don't think that that's true. It's not necessarily like anybody can play alongside of Connor McDavid, because he just plays at a higher plane than a lot of people. And like you mentioned, that will result in a lot of guys alongside him, like, being shocked that the puck's almost on their stick and they have to do something with it. It's, you have to think the game as quickly as the guys that you're playing alongside, and that can be tough. I don't know what the Patrick Kane element is, where it's tough to play alongside him, but it seems very clear that the Detroit Red Wings are still trying to figure that out, and they haven't really gotten there yet.
You got to keep avoiding that piano when it's not on his back.
The defensive piano.
It's hard to avoid that on the ice sometimes.
It arrives every time the puck goes the other way. It's crazy. One thing I wanted to show you, too, this is a video from our friend Leah Merrill from PHNX. She filmed a video of Jacob Chikrin being honored in his return to Mullet Arena. This is a tweet I sent you, Braggs. The 4,000-seat Mullet Arena, not very populated last night. And as they're looking for a new arena deal, do you have any sort of faith that this is even if they do get the arena of their dreams, let's say, is this a viable franchise? Like, have we seen enough from Phoenix/Arizona to already say, like, this just isn't going to work here?
I think that it can work anywhere. Like, I mean, just because it's not in a market that, like, it's not in a traditional hockey market, like, we've seen that doesn't really matter as long as you're putting together a product that has quality on the ice and is accessible for large amounts of people. Like the big thing is the arena in an area where it can be accessed by scores of people, and we saw like even in Ottawa when that arena is not the easiest to get to, and they had attendance problems. And we know that people in Ottawa care about the Senators, and they've got a good fan base. It just doesn't matter sometimes. And the Arizona Coyotes, this year, they're a respectable team, but for years and years and years, what a joke. And who would want to show up for that team? My thing is with Mullet, like right now is we're 5 days away from Christmas. There's probably a lot of people that are not on the ASU campus that they would be tapping into for tickets otherwise. And so like maybe that's a reason why they're struggling a little bit recently with ticket sales. But like for the most part, Mullet's been a pretty good experiment. Like it's been a fun, unique atmosphere. The crowds are typically pretty good. And I think that there is some excitement for the Coyotes in terms of the direction that they're heading in. They obviously just need a long-term footing and a long-term solution that hasn't happened yet.
It's a good point on the ASU thing too, because not only do you have college students home, you also have, what percentage of people that live in the greater Phoenix area are Phoenix natives? They're all from Boston or Chicago or New York, and they're probably heading back to see their families for Christmas. So that's a solid point, but it's just, I don't care. It's 4,000 seats.
If you're having trouble filling a 4,000 seat on Tuesday night, it could be. It's just not a good look when you're trying to get another arena. But yeah, now we can see, and that is usually that's right after the first TV timeout. Usually the first TV timeout is when they do those video tributes.
People get into their seats.
Like it's not like it's like 2 seconds after the start of a period or something like that. But I don't know.
I guess the Jacob Chicken return wasn't a real ticket mover.
I guess not. You got Brady Tkachuk. The Tkachuks are big in Arizona. I would have just thought you would have had a bigger crowd, but maybe the ASU, maybe they are relying a lot on those student tickets. But again, that's not a great thing either, because who's going to show up when you move to your new arena if it's not on campus of another university?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, man.
I'm reaching like the end of my leash in terms of like, will this work in Phoenix, Arizona, Tempe, wherever you want to put it? Like if we're not to a solution within like the next 6 months in terms of a finalized plan, just move on. Just cut your losses and put the team somewhere else. This is outrageous.
And winning does cure all. If you had a championship caliber team in there the past 20 years, you would have a greater interest. But, as you mentioned, Jay, like most people who live in that area are from somewhere else. So they go to the Coyotes game when the Bruins are in town or the Rangers are in town, the team they grew up watching or lived for most of their adult life before retiring. So it's tough. There are a lot of reasons why I want it to succeed. The state of Arizona is starting to like produce some great talented hockey players. The youth hockey has exploded there, but at some point for the league, it's got to make sense. And I just don't know if that's ever going to happen minus, a run to the Stanley Cup final.
Which in that arena would be hilarious.
No, I said that. I said that when they first said they were going to do this. I totally want the Coyotes to go on one of those crazy ass runs and get to the Stanley Cup final. And the NHL has to like hand out their trophy in a 4,000 seat arena.
I think
that would be
and
perfect.
tell us how cool it is.
The NHL and Gary Bettman would absolutely shit their pants if the Coyotes were in a position to play in the Stanley Cup final, because setting. I don't know if have you guys been to Mullet?
No,
Not yet,
yet.
no.
So like the press row at Mullet is essentially a standing bar in the concourse area, and you just like can't fit people there. It's a very small venue, obviously, but like I think that it's probably smaller than a lot of people even imagine. And if you were to have a Stanley Cup Finals series there, it would be a logistical disaster, and the league would be out so much money from ticket sales and things like that. Like it would be a nightmare, and it would be the funniest thing in the world.
I kind of want it to happen.
I want to see the chaos.
Not the exactly.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if the league was like telling the Coyotes, you cannot have a Stanley Cup quality team for like the next 2-3 years.
Which is counterproductive in them trying to get a real arena.
Yeah.
Like they've really stepped in it in this one. And I wanted to mention earlier we were talking about the Coyotes. Was Sean okay this morning after his Sabres gave up a 9 spot to the mighty Coyotes or mighty Blue Jackets last night?
Well, we had our first all remote episode this morning because 2/3 of our podcast woke up extremely sick, and it was me and Sean. And I think that part of Sean's illness was having to watch the Sabres last night, and I honestly can't blame him. You give up 9 goals to the Columbus Blue Jackets of all teams.
That's the problem.
And I think that that's an automatic you're on the hot seat Don Granato kind of situation.
Yeah, that's like giving up 63 to the Raiders. You're automatically fired the next day.
Don't fly home. All right, before I let you go, you've been super generous with your time. What should people know about the show this week? Anything they missed? Anything coming up you want to make sure to mention?
Yeah, we had Adam Fantilli this week. It was a great interview. That's on YouTube now. You can go check it out. What Chaos Show on YouTube. We have Jim Montgomery, head coach of the Boston Bruins, tomorrow.
Shocker.
Then we've got some Pro Shop Wars coming out this week. So, and then we're going to take most of next week off. I think we're going to have like 1.5 episodes next week due to the holiday. And then when we come back, more Blue Jackets guys. We teased today that we have Kirill Marchenko coming up at some point, and he rocks. Absolute rock star. Obviously, he's a great player. He had a hat trick last night, one of the best goals of the season going through his legs. But he is also, my big takeaway from Columbus was that the glowing reviews of Marchenko as a player and as a person were probably the strongest of any guy in that room. And that was talking to other players as well. They love that guy. And we got to sit down with him, and you could tell very quickly why everybody loves that guy so much. He's the best.
Awesome. All right, Don't miss it. Make sure you subscribe to What Chaos on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And leave them a 5-star review. They need it. They need those 5-star reviews badly.
The libs are tanking our ratings.
Absolutely. All right, Pete. Appreciate it, man. Hope you're feeling better. And we'll talk to one of you soon. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Follow Pete on Twitter at Pete Blackburn. Always love having him on the show and going around the league. So we'll be going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to dig into Lukas Reichel's performance a little bit last night. But first, Greg's going to tell you how to get crammed. It is Christmas after all.
It doesn't have to be Christmas. I mean, for some people, it's only Christmas and birthdays. But for other people, we don't have that problem. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? If you are, then we have some great news for you. Our partner, Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and in Fox Lake is making room for their lot of incoming 2024 vehicles. And you know what that means? You'll be able to shop incredible savings on every new vehicle in stock during their limited time wrap up of the year sales event. So such good puns right there. For a very limited time, get up to 15% off new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokees with dealer discount at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. You'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories and drive home with more money in your pocket than you expect, thanks to Ray's Price Promise. Don't miss out. Shop great deals all month long and save big because Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram makes buying a new vehicle more affordable than ever. And that's not all. Just for listening, you can get a free oil change when you mention CHGO at the service center or mention CHGO when you book online at raycdjr/service. Hurry, and you must book before December 31st. That's the end of the week or next
end of the
week.
Year.
Yes, that's coming up. We're like days away. So hurry in. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, head on over to raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963.
Speaking of unwrapping things,
NFL
fans, it's time to unwrap nonstop football action. This holiday season, throw down on big matchups with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on the NFL. and score 150 instantly in bonus bets. Now, I've been looking around at the Bears bets this week, Bears and Cardinals, and on DraftKings. So if you're not feeling very much faith in the Bears at this moment, now's your time to jump in and bet on that. Another one I liked here too.
The daggers Braggs gave you with his eyes when you said that was quite good.
Kind of hope so.
He was.
Where's
like,
the line?
What are the game lines on the Packers game?
Hey, who cares?
we had our Packers podcast.
We had
earlier.
enough Packers talk, and you missed it, Jay.
CHGO Packers.
I wouldn't say I missed it, Greg. Let me ask you this. Now, here's another interesting one. Big odds, plus 900 for the Bears to not record a sack. I know that Montez Sweat's been getting after it, but Kyler Murray is a mobile, fast quarterback. Plus 900?
They're getting a sack, Jay.
You think?
I would think so.
Murray will at least run directly.
Run right into the
into
arms
one.
of a defender?
Yeah.
Probably.
All right.
There's
fair
a
enough.
reason that's plus 900.
I like, though, the Arizona Cardinals to win from behind. It actually just changed. Now it's plus 280. It was plus
they're
290
listening.
when I started the read. I guess people are putting
must
some
have
money
heard
down.
you.
Bump. Yeah.
And you know what? The great thing about a bet that I recommend is it's guaranteed to be wrong. So, the Bears will end up winning.
Your long shot bet last night didn't pay off.
Yes, I had 37 cents in my DraftKings account.
37 cents, Vern? There's another dated.
Now it's $0 in my account because I saw Wyatt Kaiser was plus
1,500.
Plus 1,500 to score a goal. And I bet
You're like,
37
why
cents
not?
on it to win like $5 and change. And I was watching the game with Mario. Go, here's my chance. And then Wyatt Kaiser just fell down.
Yeah.
Colin Blackwelled himself in tribute. So I lost 37 cents. So I'm going to invoice Wyatt Kaiser. But hey, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now with code CHGO. New customers, you bet those $5 on NFL action and score 150 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook. With code CHGO, the crown is yours. Hang on.
A little sip of water.
Here we go. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. We have got to stop typing out the numbers.
Yeah, that's bad. They shortened it, but then they made it
Oh,
worse. By
it is so hard to read
The first
that
time
way.
I read that, I said Hopany
Hoping
and assurance
Yeah. Text opening.
because I'm a complete idiot.
good enough. But yeah, we can't have like EIGHT-SEVEN. It is so hard to read that way.
They shortened it by like a bit, but then they threw in that, and that's
We're sports podcasters. We don't read good.
the Siderners might be in a better spot had Shane Pinto just played DraftKings because it's void in Ontario. So
There you go.
wouldn't have even been
He would have
able
been
to
blocked
bet,
out.
and he would have been able to play all this season. See,
Sure.
it's all about what sports book you pick.
See, there you go. You blew it. You blew it, Pinto. They would be a totally different team if he was here.
Yep.
Yes. Playoffs.
DJ Smith would still have a job.
Yes, but DJ Bean still does, even though he doesn't like us and doesn't come on. Anyway, Lukas Reichel back.
I mean, for a
Back.
game, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's see
Yeah.
what happens Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Friday against Montreal here in town. Yeah, I mean his performance last night was spirited, as was the entire team, and I think it was a lot of fun to see them playing well against an Avs team that, sure, very much underperformed. We heard from Devin Tays after the game speaking about the Avalanche, saying, basically guys are coasting because they think that they're hot shit,
Yeah.
and we talked about last night how last night's game was easily a game where the Blackhawks could have just phoned it in. It was a game where the Avalanche also could have easily phoned it in, expecting to just walk in and win, and they kind of played that way. And I think it was just great to have the Blackhawks have a performance where they took advantage of a team overlooking them, and that's a way to build confidence. And Reichel was one of those guys that, going into this game, going into this season, wanting to take that next step in his development. And sure, one performance doesn't automatically erase the past 28 games or anything like that, but it was definitely a performance where you're like, this is the guy that we were expecting to see.
Yeah, you feel like it's still in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, as the season has gone on and he has struggled to produce, it's been so frustrating because what we saw at the end of last year was real. That was not smoke and mirrors. That was not a guy like getting lucky or pucks bouncing off his leg and in, or like had a massively great shooting percentage. He was an effective, dangerous player most of the time he was on the ice at the end of last season in that final call-up. And, you predicted him before Bedard was drafted to lead the team in scoring, and that wasn't an absurd thought at all. Before we knew that Bedard was going to join the Hawks, like, that's perfectly reasonable that you would think he'd have 50, 60 points based on what we saw from him last year. And last night he finally gets only his third goal of the year, his first at 5-on-5, and really the first goal that's like that was created and generated because of his skill.
Yeah.
And I know Laz wrote about it today for The Athletic. I'm not going to steal it, but some quotes from him saying like it felt great to score that way and to score early, and everybody was playing with energy. And yeah, I think the Avalanche did kind of come out a little bit not ready to go. But that third period, the Hawks were getting under their skin. They were fired up. They were coming at the Hawks hard, and the Hawks were able to hang on. And I think that's another kind of when you look at the things that maybe you take away from that game, aside from Reichel, was the fact that they didn't surrender the lead and they didn't give up that last-minute goal that we all kind of felt was coming when that net was empty.
Yeah.
Everybody in that bar last night at the Broken Barrel was like, here we go. This game's about to be tied.
I was ready to be like, man, it's going to suck when they only get 1 point out of this effort.
Yeah.
Because you just figure, you look on the ice and there's McKinnon and there's Niskutch, who I thought was going to have a freaking hat trick before the first period was over. And there's Mikko Rantanen, and it's like, oh boy, like this is not going to end well. The most impressive thing from Reichel last night was just how he got through the neutral zone. I don't know if that translated to the TV as well as it did at the United Center. He was just, boom, no timidness, no indecisiveness. He was just flying through the neutral zone. And there was that play, I think it was towards the end of the first period where they didn't get anything out of it, but he was coming up the boards and, like, he faked two different Avalanche out of their skates.
Yeah.
He's just playing with confidence. A confident Lukas Reichel is a much different player than what we've seen through the first 30 games of this season. And that's what we've been saying for weeks, that it's been between his ears. And it seems like for whatever reason last night he got that bugaboo out. And now we need to see it for 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row, 5 games in a row. Like that needs – what we saw last night needs to be the standard for Lukas Reichel.
Well, I think there were a lot of people, kind of in the chat or wherever online just saying, like, why won't you guys just call this guy a bust and say it? It's just too early to make that call.
He's a 21-year-old that's played 50-some-odd games in the NHL. Like,
And there's almost the biggest sample size of production as there is to lack of production.
I'm sure if you Google searched Jack Hughes bust, there were probably a lot of people calling him a bust in his second full season that look like idiots now. Not saying Lukas Reichel is going to be Jack Hughes, but you can't
jumping
let
on a player that quickly is,
you can't let even Lafreniere in New York is starting to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
He's having a good season. That's a guy that I was in the territory of like, it's been 3 years. I'm kind of confident to call him a bust. I mean, he probably still will be a bust for where he was picked, but he's still looking like he's going to be a decent player. Probably should have never been picked that high, but at the time, everybody was, there was the comparisons to him and Sidney Crosby, and you might be able to blame some of his slow start to his career on Gerard Gallant and then the way they handled him, but we'll see. But that Avalanche comment was pretty interesting last night. I actually rode the elevator down after I talked to you guys, held the elevator door open for somebody, and it was our buddy, Jesse Montano, formerly of DNVR and now with Guerrilla Sports. He was the one that got that quote, put it out there, and he was like, man, did you see him? I'm like, yeah, we talked about it on a show. And he's like, it's a problem. Like, and he was saying, like, it seems like the new guys that have come in just aren't gelling the way they want.
Jonathan Drouin isn't working out?
But you look at it, like, Ryan Johansson decides it's more important to punch Colin Blackwell in the face with a minute to go down a goal.
That's idiotic.
Miles Wood, another new guy, decides it's more important for me to make sure the ref knows that I think he's a big fat doo-doo head or whatever he called him.
Whoa.
And
Family show.
It was more important for him to get that out of his system than to stay on the ice when you just gave up the go-ahead goal because you took a dumb penalty to begin with.
Right.
You know, guys like that, you know, Ross Colton, I don't know, like he's been a good player for them, but it's like it's something there isn't working. And it was refreshing to hear a player like that basically, without naming names, just calling out his teammates. And then you get the people like, oh, he shouldn't have said that. It's like these are the same people that are like, oh, they just give you boring, you know, cliches all the time, robot answers. And the guy shows some emotion. He's like, oh, you should say that face to face to the teammate. No, it probably has a better effect when you call somebody out in public.
Speaking of that, real quick, sidebar, I forgot to mention it earlier. Tomorrow's show, Nick Foligno will be with us right here in this studio, so don't miss tomorrow's show. We start at 2:30. Nick will join us at 3. So hopefully first of many visits with Nick Foligno coming up. So that's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for that. And that's a guy who knows a little bit about speaking up.
Yeah.
And saying things that matter. Okay, sorry. Just want to make sure we got that out there.
Well, and I think those comments, you know, I would think in the NHL culture, there's not really going to be a player that's going to go out and say something to the media that hasn't already been said to teammates behind closed doors. And a lot of times, other players are in the room when those interviews are happening. And so it's not necessarily news to them that, hey, some of you guys aren't pulling your weight, or, you know, the culture in here, the mindset around here isn't working for us. I mean, that's pretty common. Foligno has said on multiple occasions with other guys in the room, veterans aren't carrying their weight. Like he said that before. So I mean, I'm thankful that it feels like more this season and in recent seasons where NHL players are starting to kind of say some things that prick your ears up and have gotten away from just the generic and the cliche. I appreciate that.
I think the old guard, the old dinosaurs around the league are starting to get very nervous about the last few months in the NHL where the players are starting to become more empowered.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it in Columbus. The players spoke up and said, we're not dealing with this Mike Babcock clown. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
You're seeing it with, you know, the Pride tape. It took Travis Dermott, one guy, and then all of a sudden they back down. And you know, Marc-Andre Fleury and his mask and that whole thing. But you're starting to see players speak up more.
Yeah.
And not only within their teams, but just
Within the
overall.
league. Yeah.
And that's probably scaring the crap out of the old guard in the NHL, which is a good thing.
Well, and was it the Austin Matthews deal? Didn't lock him in for 8 years or whatever it was, like a 5-year deal or something. Like
4 years, wasn't it?
4 years, 5 years, something. Yeah, shorter. I think some players are probably wising up to like, hey, I can get 2 massive contracts instead of 1 if I get 2. Sign 2 during my prime rather than 1 when I'm 21
that first
and
deal.
Another one when I'm 30.
Right.
You know, it's a lot different.
It's that 28 number that these guys are starting to target. We're like, I want to be a free agent at 28 because 28 sounds so much better than 29.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's not as close to 30 as 29 is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a whole another year away.
You're right.
I can math
And you
sometimes.
said you weren't a math guy.
Yes. You know, I surprised myself.
We got to take another break, but when we come back, we'll continue the conversation and, you know, kind of preview what's ahead for the Hawks because I think 3 of the last 4 games they've looked pretty good and they're getting a little bit healthier. So what does that all mean?
Hopefully it means some better performances, some more cohesive performances, and more reasons to go out and see them at the United Center. And
That's
if
a
you're going to
segue,
do
mister.
that, do it with our friends at Game Time. Get your tickets and have the best experience possible. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. And Game Time is the fast and easy way to get tickets to all the sporting events, music events, comedy events, and theater events, all the events you can ever hope for near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat when you're looking for your tickets, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And you have the Blackhawks playing the Montreal Canadiens, a nice original 6 matchup on Friday night. at the United Center. I'm sure that's going to be a hot ticket. The Blackhawks this year, Ben Pope tracks it all season long. Their attendance this year has been predictably up from last year, but it is so noticeable being in that building when there's 18, 19, 20,000 compared to last season when there was 13, 14, 15 on a lot of nights.
That's the Nikita Zaitsev effect.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sure. No Kirby Doc in the lineup, so we can't get the revenge on him for his basically FU celebration last year.
Well, I think Jared Tenorti kind of did by removing his leg from his body.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, get your tickets to that game Friday night and all the events that you want to go to through Game Time. Again, they take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO, and you're going to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, go to the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem the code CHGO for 20% off. That is C as in CHGO, H as in hell yeah, CHGO is awesome. G as in go, CHGO go, and O as in oh my God, I love CHGO. When you download the Game Time app today, you get your last minute tickets, the lowest prices guaranteed.
Thank you, Robert Loja. And,
It says spell out CHGO.
I know it does say that.
I mean,
I'm like, well,
what else do you want me to do?
We kind of
Spell out the numbers too?
There's not a way to not spell out CHGO.
right? Unless you're John Greenberg.
Chuggo.
Sure.
So I've also heard CHGO.
CHGO. Yeah. No, we're not a worldwide video game.
No.
Yeah. Game Time makes it easier to buy tickets, and it's also getting easier for business to switch to electric vehicles.
Oh yeah.
That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it.
Yeah, that electric grid, it's something. It's evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as well as we all, I can read good, as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense for you.
So, Mario, in your advice, what should business owners do?
Listen, if there's anything I should give out, it's business advice. But you should go to ComEd.com/clean and learn more about their resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. And if you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. It's good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Sorry, I was daydreaming about Nikita Zaitsev's Norris Trophy acceptance speech. Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
I did say ComEd.com/clean. Go there now. See how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
So as we project what this recent stretch of decent performances means,
Sounds like such a low bar.
yes, Dom Lucic of The Athletic has published his NHL season projections as of today. There are 4 NHL teams he has with a 0% chance of making the playoffs.
That sounds about right.
Anaheim, Columbus, Chicago, and San Jose.
Boy,
Yeah.
what a numbers genius that guy is.
At least I can read his graph.
How many
Nice.
funky spreadsheets did he need to come up with that, blockbuster of a announcement?
Who do you think has the highest odds to win the Stanley Cup? At 12%.
Vegas Golden Knights.
Vegas? Boston?
Boston.
Well, they're frauds.
Guess who's
We know
second?
that.
Vancouver.
Colorado Avalanche.
You're going to hate this, Greg.
Toronto.
Toronto is second.
Sure.
Great.
Of course they are.
You keep picking right. That's what I'm saying, man. No, the graph dorks are just watch a game, man.
Third are Florida and Dallas.
Dallas,
Tied at 9%.
I don't hate being number
The
4.
top
but
4 were Boston, Toronto,
Boston,
Florida,
Toronto,
and Dallas.
Florida and Dallas. Florida and Dallas each have 9% chances of winning the Stanley Cup in their eyes.
I don't know.
Out of those 4 teams,
I don't think any of them are winning the cup.
no. But out of those 4, I would, if I had to bet, I would put my money on Dallas because they'd be
so,
coming
too.
out of the West, which should be less of a death.
Maybe.
You got to get through
Then
Vegas.
Maybe not.
And
you
I
know.
think LA is really good too.
maybe not.
I
But Vegas
Vancouver's
and
probably gonna be
Vegas
there.
and LA have to play each other in the format, so you're
True.
only going to have to beat one of those teams.
Yeah, true. And the now galvanized Colorado Avalanche after Devin Taves, the lesser Taves, called
Sure,
them out.
I mean, Colorado is good, but they definitely have some holes. I mean, losing to the Blackhawks is not a good look.
Well, and goaltending's been a problem for them.
And we're going to see the Stars twice next week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Blackhawks end the year with
Game
two
road trip. To
two in Dallas,
the
yeah.
29th and New Year's Eve. Kind of like that.
That's fun.
That's fun for Seth.
You know what's
Jones.
great
we
about
got
that
used
is
to that.
I'll be out on New Year's Eve and I won't have to go anywhere that is horrible.
Yeah.
I'll get to be at the United Center instead.
No, they're
No,
road
they're-
games.
we're-
Yeah.
Oh, road games.
It's
I'll
a
be
road
here
game.
instead.
We'll be
We'll be
here
here.
instead.
We'll be here unless we do our remote New Year's Eve show, which we did last year.
Let's be here. Let's order some pizza and some wings, and
Sure.
we'll sprinkle some
All right,
gluten on it
it's-
like we did last night. Just to
You talked me into it.
If my wife is watching, change our plans.
oh no, you guys are still young. You should go out on New Year's Eve. The idea of going
With
out
a
on New Year's
child?
Eve makes me
No,
cringe.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I didn't like going out on New Year's Eve when I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
it was
no,
amateur
it's
night
horrible.
then. It was like, I'm an expert at this whole staying out drinking late thing. Like, I don't need an excuse. Like,
I don't need a special night for
yeah,
it.
that's any day ending in a Y back in my 20s. So it was like,
Oh.
who are all these weirdos I've never seen before? Like, go away.
The worst was we went to Navy Pier, had like Cheap Trick and Poi Dog Pondering playing at Navy Pier.
Interesting pairing.
And it was you buy a ticket and they're like, oh, it's like drinks are included, and you spend all night in line
Waiting
for
in
drinks
line, yeah.
that are this big.
Yeah. There's
And,
two
oh, God.
bars for 25,000 people.
Yet somehow 90% of the people there are just bomb hammered, like throwing up on the carpet.
Yeah, New
Like,
Year's Eve
I'm
is-
never going out again.
The two worst days of my drinking days that I hated going anywhere near a place that served any kind of booze, New Year's Eve and St. Patrick's Day. Just
Oh, yeah, no.
total amateur. No, it's just I would rather just drink with the professionals on a random Tuesday than New Year's Eve.
I thought you were going to say something about staples and drywall.
No, that's for off the air.
I don't know this story. Do I know this story?
No,
No,
I've
it's
used
just- it's one of Greg's
phrase about I would
expressions.
rather do something
Oh, yes.
with staples and
Yes,
drywall.
yes,
than- yeah.
Yeah, you can just fill in the fill in the rest. I'm think pretty easily.
Yeah, going out for New Year's Eve. I mean, it's you do it in your 20s once or twice, and then you know the experience.
Yeah.
And then you say, I'll just stay at home.
Like now on New Year's Eve is like, last year, Stacy and I, we got some bacon from our guy, Charlie.
Nice,
and
course.
nice.
We made bacon and a bunch of appetizers, and there were like 2 or 3 movies we've been meaning to watch, and we just sat down, watched them. Clock turned midnight, and we went to bed.
Nice.
It's perfect.
I remember there was a year celebrating New Year's at a friend's house with a big group, and we ran out of food, and so we had to order more pizza on New Year's Eve at about 11 o'clock at night, and it arrived during the countdown, and we counted down from 10 to 0 for midnight with the pizza delivery guy, like
Well, of course.
holding the boxes. I was just like, no, come on in.
Did anybody give him a kiss at midnight? He earned it.
No.
Oh,
We offered him champagne, and he was like, no, I'm working. I'm like,
I've got to deliver
Take it for the road.
86 more
Whatever.
of these.
Somewhere there's a picture of me in my 20s when I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am now, in the height of the Degeneration X WWE Attitude Era.
Sure.
Where I was wearing a Chris Jericho style sparkly
I had one of
button-down
those.
shirt,
I had one of
and I'm
those.
doing the suck it mechanic, and I am about 290 pounds.
I had one of those.
Of
we need
pure
to find
drunkenness.
Need to find.
I had
that
one of those
picture.
shirts. I'm pretty sure I wore it to a New Year's Eve party 1 year or 2. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
It was just like a human disco ball.
Yeah, it's bad. But I did get this really cool set of Bears pint glasses that I no longer have. They've been lost in multiple moves, but they were like regular. They just had the Bears logo on it. When you poured something cold in it, they like changed to like orange, and it had like mini logos all over
that's
it. They were
cool.
like super cool.
Oh, sweet.
And we went to one of these bars that had like a New Year's Eve package one time, and I got that pint glass. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. And 6 of them somehow made it into my coat pocket and made it home with me. I was like, I'm taking a whole freaking set of these.
Nice. I got to keep my cup from the Broken Barrel last night.
Yeah,
I
they
wrote
were
water.
nice.
That was nice of them.
They were nice of that.
It's still in there. All right, we do got to wrap up. But before we do, you mentioned New Year's bacon.
Set you up for that one.
You know where to get your New Year's bacon. And Charlie, he's in the chat right now. Charlie, is it too late to get New Year's bacon?
Not just New Year's bacon, everyday bacon.
Well, yes, of course, but it is extra special on New Year's. Charlie the Bacon Guy, he's our buddy. He's in the chat right now. He's based in Woodridge, and he makes craft bacon and bacon jams in over 30 different flavors, and they're all naturally cured. They have no preservatives in them because those are gross and bad for you. If Charlie can't pronounce it, it's not in his bacon or his bacon jam. The great thing about it, if you're looking for a unique holiday gift, and again, if you're not going to go pick it up from Charlie, it might be too late, but we've been telling you about this for months. It freezes up beautifully. You can buy a bunch of it, freeze it, wrap it. Buy your father-in-law a little, portable cooler. Fill it with some of Charlie's bacon. You're going to be the winner of the Christmas gift prize that year for sure. Here's some of the flavors that Charlie has. Maple pepper, Nashville hot, French toast, buffalo, ranch, jalapeno garlic, jardiniere, and yes, he actually has Malort bacon. How about the bacon jams? The original, the bourbon, the spicy, the peach, all delicious. They are perfect on anything. You can put that bacon jam on scrambled eggs, toast, crackers, burgers, grilled cheese, cinnamon rolls, or just a spoon. That's really easy to do. You can pick it up from Charlie. He can deliver it to you, meet you halfway, or even ship it. He makes the bacon so you can bring it home. Starting now until December 15th. That's old. You can save 10% on your order at charliethebaconguy.com.
Well, as Charlie says in the chat, he's almost out of bacon. We've
no.
almost bought him out of bacon.
Well, that's great.
No.
So act now.
Stop buying
fast.
bacon. I need bacon.
Charlie, is the code? I don't know if the code's still good, but I'll just keep reading it. CHGO 10. Try it. Go to charliethebaconguy.com. And here's the cool thing about the website is you can go through the bacon archive and see all the flavors he's made before. And if it's not available now, if you reach out to Charlie and order enough, he'll make you your own batch of any of the bacons he's made before. He's also open to some bacon ideas. Like I know that I had a hand in the jalapeno garlic.
Oh, nice.
And I had a hand in the maple sriracha because that night we got Wingstop, the Red Wings game, you got maple sriracha wings. I'm like, that was damn good. It'd be good on bacon.
Just had the maple sriracha bacon the other night.
Yeah.
It was damn tasty.
It's good stuff.
It is a good flavor.
So jump on it, charliethebaconguy.com. He's our buddy. He's our pal. He's in the chat with you.
If he can't do it,
And,
no one can.
yeah, get yourself some bacon for the new year. All right, reminder, tomorrow, 2:30, Nick Foligno will be in studio with us. It's going to be an awesome time. We have so much to ask him about and so little time to do it. So come on, join the show. Make sure we pack the chat. Make sure we hammer that like button for Nick and let him know he is not wasting his time talking to us.
That would be great.
Yes, it's going to be an awesome time. Make sure you do that for us. We greatly appreciate that. In the meantime, we want to thank Braggs for running the show. Are you telling me to not do something? All right. Thanks to Braggs for running the show.
You're welcome.
Sarah's here as well, hanging out. The whole gang's here. Law's in there eating a Graziano sub. I'm very, very jealous. But we'll talk to you tomorrow.
White
at
Sox
2:30.
crew coming up next.
Oh, yeah. Sox are next.
Yeah, lots of stuff to talk about.
Yep. Tons of stuff. Hey, they made a move at the winter meetings.
Did they?
Somebody
They
did.
get bragging rights.
Hey.
All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow,
Worth the
2:30
trip
with
to
Nick
Nashville.
Foligno, Team Dad, on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. And a final reminder, because I almost forgot, that we are powered by ComEd. It's getting easier for your business to switch to electric vehicles. Learn more at comed.com/clean. Talk to you Thursday, 2:30 with Nick Foligno on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.